And we are live, folks. Yes, with UFEA Town Hall number 2, 3. Which one is this, Runeskin?
Technically two, but it's week three. I don't know how you want to count it.
We'll call it 2.3. Huge viewership here tonight. 12 viewers. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But either way, just so you guys all know right off the bat, this will absolutely be available on our YouTube channel after this. So you can go scope that out probably by tomorrow afternoon. But we just wanted to take a few minutes here tonight to make sure that we're now into week 3. We all have some experience now with UFEA. We all know what it looks like. A lot of you are returning teams. We have a lot of new teams, but we thought this would be a good time to do it. And I am, of course, the one and only 1 minute silence here. And I'm here with my boy.
I'm Runeskin. I'm the other troll you see poking around in your Discord channels in the server.
And of course, when he says other troll, he's referring to himself and Good Golem, because I am certainly not a troll. Um, But we just wanted to go over a couple really quick items that have come up over the first couple weeks. We want to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the stuff going on. We have a couple items that aren't on the list we may discuss, some score reporting type things, just to make sure that we're kind of hitting all of our bases. We think it's really important to make sure that we touch base with you guys and keep you kind of updated. So we're going to dive right in. Our plan, I know we promised 30 minutes last time I wasn't here, but I do know it went a little long. But of course, that's because it was our first one, a lot of interest, a lot of questions. And of course, you can use that Town Hall 1012 channel right under the general informations in Discord, and we will be able to see that and respond to you should you have any questions at this time. We just locked up the Twitch chat log because it's easier for us to not have to monitor 2 different locations. So quick overview tonight. We will, of course, be doing a Q&A at the end of it. We really think the Q&A probably is probably the most important part of this, but we have a few other items that we want to touch, and that's going to be score reporting. It's going to be Discord etiquette, and it's going to be some roster changes for not only the duration of the season, but also for seasons to come and what to expect of that. As pointed out already to you guys, you can check out the Town Hall 1012 channel. That's where you can com with us directly. We'll respond in there with you. And then ultimately, this will end up on our Discord as well, or on our YouTube as well. And of course, it'll be here on Twitch for, I think it's a 2-week timeline that all of our videos are saved. So we are subscriber mode only, so you can see Huntus there eating some popcorn and enjoying the show. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to throw it over to my boy Runeskin, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about score reports, as we know those have been a bit of a contentious subject.
All right, so starting right off, score reports. Um, Score reports are obviously vital because every team wants to get credit for their plays. So in that on that route, it is vital that teams are accurately reporting their scores and they're also reporting them in a timely manner. So if you're unfamiliar, and I'm sure everybody's already familiar, the score report channel, um, the score report channel can be found within the general section of the server up there at the top. It's really important that you report matches after they happen. The big thing for returning players and new players alike is that this season we need screenshots of matches. Um, the reason I say that is because staff will occasionally need to verify the results of a game, especially when a team submits a ticket and says, hey, I think this score report was done incorrectly or wrong. We need to be able to go back and verify the results of a match.
To
Now,
piggyback on that, we do also have stats in mind. That is something that our web developer is currently working on to build in. So I would say, probably stay tuned for another week or so, and we may be able to start populating some stats. We make no promises at this point what that'll look like because it's quite a bit of data to be entered every week, but we may start with one title and then move from there. Just a heads up. Sorry about that, Ben.
all good. So, um, there have been questions occasionally about, what kind of screenshot should I be using to report the scores of my game. For some games, it's more obvious than others. For Rocket League and Valorant, for example, I think it's pretty straightforward. Rocket League and Valorant should both be using the scoreboard that shows up at the end of the game. Rocket League, I do want to take note that scoreboard does go away if you don't save the replay or if you don't screenshot it before the next game begins. So please make sure this is the screenshot that you're taking for Rocket League and Valorant. Smash is pretty straightforward. There's a screen at the end that says you won and your opponent didn't. That's the one we need to take. I know Smash has that extra challenge of not being on PC, which unfortunately means you can't print screen, grab the screenshot. Plenty of people take pictures with their phones or with a computer camera externally. It is what it is. If you have a capture card, you're one of the lucky few. League of Legends, this is the screenshot that we'd like at the end of the game. I know some people have just screenshotted that section, when as soon as you destroy the enemy's base, and it just kind of says, victory, you win. But we want this screenshot because, like OMS said, we are going to be collecting stats in the future, and this is the screen that displays all the statistics from the game. Apex. Apex, we really like the squad eliminated screen that happens after your squad is eliminated. It looks like this. The nice thing about this screen is that it shows kills, knocks, and assists, and it also gives damage dealt, which are the statistics that we'd like to track. We know some teams have been sticking with the scoreboard at the end of the game that you can find in the lobby, but this really is the screen that we'd prefer you to get for screenshots. Overwatch 2 also, we know that this is brand new, so not everybody's clued in. We'd really like this screen right here because it shows all, once again, kills, assists, deaths. It shows damage dealt, damage mitigated, and healed. Now, the one that I'm going to spend the most time talking about is Fortnite, because I think Fortnite is where there has been the absolute most confusion regarding scoring. So in Fortnite, you receive points based on your amount of eliminations and your placement in the game. So the screen you're looking at here is the ideal score reporting screenshot. And not everybody knows how to get to this screen. I was talking with my Fortnite players. They knew the screen existed, but didn't actually know how to get to it until we did some poking around. So I want to explain how you find this screen. Once again, this is the screenshot we want for reporting Fortnite. So to find this screen, you're going to need to access the map feature in game. If you're playing on keyboard, you're going to hit the M key. If you're playing on PlayStation, you're going to hit the select button. If you're playing on Xbox, you're going to hit the view button. It's the one with the two rectangles in it on the left. That might also be named select, but from what I understand, it's called the view button. When you hit that button after you're eliminated, it will take you to the screen that shows you the eliminations of each member of your squad. We know some people like to use that statistics screen, but the problem with it is it only shows the eliminations of one player. We need to see the eliminations of all players as well as the placement. So this is the ideal screenshot to take. If you need those instructions, they're right down here at the bottom of this section. All right. So next, heading over to roster changes, I'm going to throw that over to 1 minute silence to talk about our roster change policy at this point in the season.
Yeah, normally we we lock our rosters at the end of week 2, but we understand that there's some flexibility needed for teams, particularly when players drop or stop showing up, or you start to find a lack of commitment occurring within your programs. And we realize that that's going to happen. So what we really ask is that any type of roster change request, and we're not talking about IDs. If you want to change your Riot ID middle of the season, totally acceptable. You can do that at any time. You do need to report that into our ticket tool immediately, though, because if you do not reflect the correct roster on the website, you can be called out by the opposition and you can be forced to FF by playing a player who is not rostered. So if you do have a name change, that's a different thing. When we say roster changes, we're talking about adding players to any of your teams. We are now in week 3, so technically we are a hard lock. We no longer permit players to be added to the roster. However, we understand that there are case by case situations. So, in order to maintain the integrity of our divisions, as we state here, we want to make sure that if you're going to add a player to your roster, and of course, only under the circumstance that it's absolutely dire to your continued competition level, you cannot add a player who does not belong in the division that your team has been placed. Now, if you want to add a player that is below that division, that's something we can consider. But for example, adding a Masters player in Overwatch to your Delta Overwatch team, which is mostly going to be golds, is not going to be acceptable. And the reason for that is because then you're really jeopardizing the ability of your opponents who enter into a membership with our league and participate in UFEA under the premise that they're going to play other teams of similar rank. what you're doing is you're infringing upon their right to play fair competition there. And so we want to make sure that we're able to maintain that fair competition at all times. So without being too long-winded, really the rule to live by at this point is no more roster changes, don't add any more players. Now there are case by case situations that we can work on, of course, but again, all those things have to come immediately through the ticket tool. Back to you, Runeskin.
All right. Sorry. Give me, if you wouldn't actually mind, could you start off the Discord common practices? I found the fix for the overlay, for the Discord overlay on stream.
Yeah, certainly. We do have a question here, though, and while you're doing that, I'm going to actually toss it to you, Runeskin, because this is, I am not an Overwatch player, and for anybody who's talked to me recently, you all know that I refuse to play that game after the first 2 days. So the question is from Sadu Gabe over at Orange Lutheran. For the Overwatch 2 screenshot, how would we show wins and losses with the scoreboard? It doesn't show defeat or victory on the scoreboard, right?
Yes, so it does not show victory or defeat. But the thing is that we need those stats. I know some people so far, actually most teams, have just been going into their games played and recording that as, victory, defeat, so on and so forth. Honestly, we want that screenshot because that's how we want to collect stats in the future. And I mean, at the moment, unless an Overwatch 2 player can correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't a screen that shows both stats and which team was the victor. If that changes in the future, and I certainly hope it does, we can get that changed up. But in the meantime, that's the screen that we want.
Perfect. All right, I'll get to your question shortly, Soren. So Discord common practices, we thought this was a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about Discord communication. We've started to realize that a lot of teams are really waiting until the last minute to communicate with their opponents. It's really important that we begin communicating as early as possible. We feel that one of the key tenets of the UFEA that really sets it apart from a lot of the other league operations is the ability for teams to always have communication in a single place that exists for the entire league, and that's our Discord. And we work really hard every Sunday. And Runeskin and Good Golem and Jamie, these people can all attest to the nightmare that is our Sunday night every week as we go in and remove roughly, gosh, I don't know how many channels, Runeskin, probably 300 channels a week, at least 200 channels a week, that we have to go in, delete, and recreate every single week to make sure that all the permissions are right, all those kinds of things. So, and again, we double check as much as we can. If you find any errors, feel free to submit a ticket urgently afterwards. But it's really important that we use those channels as a central point of communication as early in the week as possible. We have a very flexible reschedule policy, and really it is to reschedule at your leisure as long as both teams can come to an agreement on it. So it's really important for you, especially because so many teams capitalize on that reschedule policy. It's so important for you guys to start communicating as early as possible every single week in Discord. Monday morning when you get online, I guarantee you your channel is there. And if it's not, then it's an error. It's not an oversight. So make sure that you use that channel, communicate right away. We'd of course prefer to not have to go through and ping folks all throughout the channels throughout the week. We'd like you guys to go ahead and take care of it. And of course, just to hit the important points here, our BM and anti-toxicity policy applies both to in-game chat and into Discord as well. You should not be communicating with players in Discord in a way that's inappropriate for K to 12 age groups. Okay, no cursing, no swearing, no disparaging remarks, no BMing your opponents, no easy, no sage diff. None of that kind of stuff is acceptable at any time in our league whatsoever. That's just not something that we want to build in our community. This is a scholastic community, or it's at least a scholastic aged community, and we want to make sure that we cater to that population and keep it a safe environment for everybody. And we will not hesitate to ban you. And actually, speaking to the point of being banned, you probably saw there was certainly a couple accounts that got hacked this season, and some posts were made. We cannot encourage you enough to put on two-factor authentication. Super important for you to do to make sure that you don't run into any of that, and we keep our environment safe for all of our teams. I'll toss it back to Runeskin here.
Yeah. So, absolutely two-factor authentication does not necessarily require a phone. Highly suggest that you get that set up if you do not already. I see the few questions about Smash Bros in the chat. We'll get to those after we talk about Discord, I promise. Few other little things. I think most people have this one covered at this point, but if you do not already if you have not already changed your name in the server, please change your name so that it includes your school or organization's name in brackets, preferably at the front of the name. That way, it's really easy to know where a player is from. We know who's chatting with who, so on and so forth. You don't need to change your whole Discord account's name, just your server nickname. Match channels. So, as 1 Minute Silence brought up, the way that UFEA communicates through Discord is wholly unique from the other Scholastic tournaments that are offered. And because of that, we do want to make sure that everybody's on the same page when it comes to how to properly utilize those channels. The main functions of these channels are greeting your opponents, scheduling your matches, sending lobby info when appropriate, and chatting about the game in any little ways. Now, down below on for the fourth page, I actually gave a much more detailed kind of list of how these channels should be used. I'm going to go through these points quickly so that we're all on the same page. As 1 Minute Silence brought up, on Monday, or even Sunday night, if you're a Hawk, you are able to go into your match channels and greet your opponents. Please go in there and at least say hello. I know it might seem strange, like you might think you have nothing to say at the beginning, but even just saying hello to your opponents lets them know that you see the channel and you're watching it. We've had tickets sent in where people say, oh, but I was watching my channel and this and that. And the thing is that they never said anything in their channel and their opponent never even realized that they were there. Even just saying something as simple as hello is super useful in beginning that communication process. Next, make sure you confirm with your opponents what time you're playing at. Obviously, each title has its own preset starting time. Even if you intend to play 4:30 on whatever day of your game, please make sure that you ask your opponent that they're ready to play at that time as well. If you do need to reschedule, please make that clear very early on in the week. Valorant, for example, is played on Thursdays. If you're coming in Thursday morning saying, hey, I need a reschedule, you are really pushing it. And obviously, we can't guarantee that a team can reschedule if you're not giving them a lot of heads up time. Communication. Certain games require specific communications, and that almost always has to do with either lobby info or with a map pick ban process. Smash Bros. And Valorant, for example, require a map pick ban process. That needs to happen in the match channel. I know some people have like DM'd their opponents about that, but if you are talking in a DM, staff cannot possibly jump in and help you out. Please keep all of those communications in your match channel. League of Legends has a specific case where the op.gg info of each player on the team needs to be sent in the channel 24 hours prior to game time. That's so opponents have ample information about their opponents. Fourth, and I highly suspect this is going to be the toughest one for a lot of people, please keep the talk in a match channel brief. Sometimes tournament staff have to go through a match channel and figure out what kind of communications were happening, you know, what was sent when, what were the stage bans, whatever. And if it's full of, you know, memes and full of people just kind of chatting back and forth, it can be really hard to parse that information. Please do your best to keep these match channels all about business, all about the game. And naturally, after your game finishes, report the score. I've seen a lot of teams get into the habit of actually putting their screenshot of the match in the game channel. I think that's an excellent practice to keep up. And if you're not doing it already, I would highly suggest starting to do it.
Helps keep us all grounded, definitely. And you know, I want to jump in here too and make sure that I say we don't want to discourage you guys from building community in our Discord. Of course not. That's a huge part of it for us. But what we do want to discourage is too much time in match channels spent with the chit chat, because it is important that we have the ability to go back, right, and parse through that stuff. And again, we already mentioned it, right? We've got hundreds of channels every week that we're trying to keep up with. So it's important that we can zip through them very quickly to make sure that we're giving the guidance and assistance that's needed at all times. Now, you guys want to use those general chats, use the title specific general chats. That's what that's all about. Build community, chit chat, scrimmage, play, have a good time, send your memes to each other. Love it. We love it. We track it. You see often that we all chime in and participate in all the banter as well, as long as of course it's going to be, K-12 decent at all times. But realistically, like, go build community, go have a blast. We want that. That's what this place is all about. But at the end of the day, let's make sure that we keep our channels for matches specific to match communication.
All right. Not at the bottom, you'll see the next page. I just gave you a very basic example of how match communication should go. If you really want that clarification, it's there for you. But at this point, we've talked about everything we want to talk about. We're going to leave the rest of the time in this town hall up to Q&A. So if you have any burning questions you want to ask, please put them in the UFEA, the Town Hall 10-12 channel. You can obviously see that on stream right now. I just played around with my overlay a little bit, so it's a little more obvious to read. So at this point, me and 1 Minute Silence are just going to bounce back and forth and answer questions. The one I'm going to answer first from Soren. Love the name, by the way. I don't know
Sorry,
if that's a...
before you dive in, Runeskin, I do want to bring up one thing, a little teaser here that I had mentioned to you earlier that I want to tell the group here about. We are working right now with our partners over at Stay Plugged In, which of course is a college recruitment organization specific to esports, certainly the largest one. They have over 300 universities in their database who use them as a tool to connect with players. We are working to firm up our dates in December for our showcase event, and you will see those dates revealed probably in the next 2 weeks. We'll reveal those dates, and that is our feature event where we participate in a tournament hosted by them. They stream it for us. We might be involved in helping a little bit on the back end, but that event, last season we saw over 50 scholarship offers go out because of that event. So I just want to put that on everybody's radar. Can't be 100% on what titles will be offered yet, but whatever titles we offer for the fall, we will do another one in the spring for the opposite set of titles. All right, back to you, Runeskin. Sorry, I stole the thunder there.
All good, all good. Soren was asking, when are you guys going to stream Smash Bros. Ultimate matches? I promise that they're coming. The first 2 weeks, and actually the first week of preseason of UFEA, my capture card had a lot of issues, so I had to get a brand new capture card and get that all set up. That is now officially set up, and we can stream Smash Bros. Matches again. So expect to see them in the near future. Obviously, last Tuesday was our first Overwatch 2 match. I had to do it, new game hype and all that. Sorry if you're not a Smash Bros fan, but Soren, I promise you will be seeing those Smash Bros Ultimate matches on our Twitch channel in the coming days, or in the coming weeks.
Okay, I think the next question we have in here is the knifing question from Coach Ross here from Greensboro Day School. He asked about knifing in Valorant, and we do have one specific rule about knifing. Yeah, as Huntus already answered, yeah, you can't knife unless, number one, you're out of ammo, or number two, there is an intentional strategy to it that is not meant to cause any sort of trolling or BMing. So we actually had a clip, I think, in our weekly highlights, which are posted on our Twitch at UFEAGG last week, that one player with the Ghost was able to take out two players with headshots, and there was somebody immediately next to him, and he was out of ammo, and he was in the middle, I think, of a Viper smoke or a Brim smoke or an Omen smoke, who knows. And so I pulled his knife out and swooped a knife kill with it. That, in that particular example, that was strategic and allowed the player to get a 3K at the end and clutch a round for his team. So that is entirely acceptable. However, no player should be running around with a knife out trying to antagonize and get knife kills, particularly if you are a team who is dominating another team, particularly.
Yep, I saw you gave Pogs for the showcase. That's right. Look out for the showcase. The fall showcase, or the winter showcase, we all know, is the big one. That's the one that people tend to pay a lot of attention to.
think the so Huntus also offered a suggestion here that we something about the website and making sure we have that website available on the Discord. I'll get together with Runeskin and Good Golem and Jamie, and we'll have a little conversation about the best way to put that in there. We certainly don't want to busy the Discord more than it already is. Our Discord is very very busy. Even for you folks who only have a few teams, there's a lot going on. I think it might make sense to put it in the title specific channels, but we'll again have a further conversation about where we could keep that website page linked up.
All right. For Overwatch, what's the rule on toxicity? Like, we say hello. What's the limit? Limit on that after a clip. Um, so following, all the. So if you don't know, by the way, might be a good time to shout out that on the UFEA.gg website, if you check our rules section, there are guidelines about specifically what would be considered toxicity and BM and um, what sort of isn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, Gabe, that if you hit, yeah, so if you like hit a clip, you make some big play or whatever, and then you were to do like your example, you like did like the hello emote. I would argue that that could be considered bad manners. Same thing with like spraying a corpse or like hitting somebody's like where somebody was just eliminated. I would consider that I would consider that bad manners because emoting can be seen like that. I understand the want to just do the friendly hello, and I know not everybody, people would argue with me about that, but I do think that it can be seen as kind of antagonistic. So we'd ask that, if you are doing something, you're in a team fight with an opponent, please don't throw the hello. That emote could be seen as toxic.
I think if you have to ask yourself, oh, is this an example of toxicity? Better to be safe than sorry and just don't do it.
Wisdom.
Just to make sure we say it here because it is in the chat there was a question about new val agents being banned. Yeah, so obviously there's a new agent incoming for the next patch for Valorant, which we know some about, not everything yet, but that agent will be banned. We actually had the same situation with what map? Pearl? Was it Pearl in the spring?
Yeah, Pearl in the spring and Overwatch right now, or yeah, not to talk about Overwatch too much, but new character was banned in Overwatch as well.
The two new characters and the one bugs character, I believe, right?
One new character, two bugged.
Oh, had it backwards. Yeah, again, not playing Overwatch. I'm on a boycott right now. Yeah, so same thing will apply. It's a 2-week ban from the week of the drop. So even though Valorant is on Thursdays, if that agent is dropped on a Monday, it's 2 weeks banned for 2 weeks of play in the league. Now, what came up last season was I believe that Pearl came into the rotation on the circuit, or was basically brought in on the patch like a week before playoffs began. So we ended up running into it, or maybe it was Neon being added, or I can't fade, whatever it was. Something new came in with only a week to go until playoffs, and it does not matter. That means it's a 2-week ban, and that's it. So by week 2 of playoffs, we were already rolling in the new hero, new agent. Yeah, it was Fade. So rolling in the new agent Fade, and Fade became eligible in week 2 of playoffs. There's a 2-week time here. Any team that is taking playoffs seriously should be doing their prep work to be prepared no matter what. So we feel that's fair. We got one more incoming question here from Soren.
By the way, while we're waiting for Soren's question, if you are looking for the document that I have on screen, I've put it in the pinned messages. I do have a little survey here. I would really appreciate it if people watching could take the time to fill it out. It's just kind of a climate survey to get your thoughts about how the league is going currently. Give us any feedback that you would like. Yep, I see people popping in on the Google Doc right now. You can go through all of the information that we posted here. Like we said, we'd really appreciate it if you could do that survey at the end.
We take this stuff seriously. We've made a lot of changes based on this feedback.
Soren has a question. How much time does the opponent get before the match ends in a forfeit on their end? Good question. So per the rule book, if an opponent cannot start the match within 30 minutes of the agreed upon match time, it is by the rules considered a forfeit. So assuming we're talking about Smash in this example, if you had set your game time to be 4:30 on Tuesday and it's 5 o'clock and they have not showed up, they are not ready to play, they are considered a forfeit. Now, we will say that UFEA staff does appreciate it when players are willing to be flexible, even in a situation where a player may be deserving of a forfeit per the rules. But per the word of the rule book, there's a 30-minute period between the agreed upon start time and when that player or team needs to be present and ready to play.
I think we may have hit almost the 30-minute mark, 32 minutes here,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't look like we have any other questions popping in right now. Any last minute takers on questions, or are we feeling good to go? I think we're looking okay. Any last remarks here you got for him, RuneSkin?
Not much. Just once again, please do the survey if you can. QR code is on screen. Link is there as well if you just want to click on the link and get that done. Um, we are approaching the halfway point in the season. I think basically week 4 is sort of the midpoint. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where things go.
Yeah, it's amazing how much I care about watching all of these matches. Like I honestly, when I'm updating scores, I'm keeping tabs in my mind, thinking to myself, oh, what a, oh, underdog won that one. Oh, no surprises here. So, we are certainly invested in it. And as much as we'd like to say that this is a 9 to 5 for us, honestly, it's like every single night we're on here talking UFEA while we're trying to smash in some spike rushes or some Apex matches, RuneSkin and I and Good Golem. So, we love this league. It is like a passion project for us. We love that you guys are having a good time, but we also know that there are things that we need to do that are going to help make it better for all of you. And that's why these surveys are so important to us, because it really does give us a nice barometer on where we're at, a nice temperature in the league. And I don't know, I didn't make this one, but I think it's probably anonymous. We try to keep them anonymous because we just want your earnest feedback. We want to know, how do we become the league that makes the most sense for you and your program at any time. So know that we're always working on it. Know that we're always trying to progress. We're always trying to grow. And I think that's pretty much it. Don't forget to take a look at our socials, of course. That's at UFEAGG, both on Instagram and on Twitter. You may catch yourself in one of our Week 5 highlights that are done every Tuesday that appear on there. Um, so make sure you get a follow on those. And TikTok is in works right now. That's something we're trying to figure out how to do a better job of that. And of course, don't forget, you can post. We just got a post there in the channel tonight from RuneSkin. Hashtag Sweet Dash Clips. You can post your clips from UFEA matches in there. We ask you to only post UFEA matches in there because we do not have the right to be publishing information about other players outside the league. So make sure that you're posting from your matches that are not streamed. Anything streamed, RuneSkin is clipping as we're going, so don't worry too much about that. But you'll notice that a lot of our highlights come directly from that channel. So you have some sweet matches in there. Please do send them in there, especially Smash, because it's really hard for us to capture Smash matches separately from that. So please, anything you have, send it in there. Just make sure that there's not too much branding on it and that it's a downloadable version of the file so that we can rip that file off Discord and then get it submitted to our creative team, who doctors it up and makes it nice and pretty. So I think that's it from me. I think that's it from us. So guys, we'll probably hang out on here for a second. Leave this on screen if you guys want to shoot a capture of this QR code and fill that form out. And man, let's finish off the season strong. It's been a great season so far. A lot
Yeah,
of crazy stuff has happened. So
and I'm excited to see where it goes.
definitely. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Night, folks.
Night.